And here we go. We have liftoff. Propulsion continues to be normal.
R68 chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, with planet.
Water towers fly! Yes!
Tango Delta nominal.
Flight downside speed off. Bring in speed off. It's orange!
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Decollage.
What is it?
Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together, back to the moon and beyond.
If there's methane would be igniting in the flare, correct?
Yikes. Keep that. We don't need any more of these.
Green right up there. We are now less than 65 hours away from the first potential launch attempt for Starship Flight 2. I am Sawyer Rosenstein, and I will be the host today for our countdown to launch coverage, where we will go through what we know, where we're at, and what still needs to come ahead of Friday's currently planned attempt. But, of course, it's not just me here. As always, I am joined by a fantastic team of co-hosts, including Alex. How's it going, Alex?
Well, I'm doing well so far. I think the whole situation with the regulatory approval, it's gonna be coming soon. So hopefully we're gonna have that Friday launch really soon. Is I think it is here. Where? Hold up. It is there. the launch countdown that we have here. It's a bit complicated because it's swapped, but yeah, there you can see the clock, and let's see if it actually launches in 64 hours and 50 something minutes. It's too small in my screen. Sorry.
But who's counting? Oh wait, the giant clock is. Also joining us today is Ryan. Ryan, how is it going?
It's going well. I woke up this morning to see that, Elon's been tweeting, and then throughout today we've seen more things getting released. And, at this time yesterday, I was like, all right, maybe you'll go for Friday, maybe you won't. This time today, I'm like, might actually happen now. So, I can feel it's just bumped to another excitement level, I can kind of feel it just bumping up now.
Yes, as mentioned, we have a tweet from Elon. We have new not Mars, no TAMs, all of which since we were on the air yesterday, so we'll have a lot to go over. But of course, in addition to going over what's happening, we want to take your questions too. So a reminder, you can tag us at NASASpaceflight in chat, and we will do our very best to answer as many of your questions as we can over the next hour. So let's start with the X post, the tweet, whichever you prefer to call it, from Elon late last night, saying that we might have the license soon, TM? Alex, let's start with you.
Yeah, so we had that tweet from Elon, and it was a bit of a surprise in the sense that he just randomly posted that on Twitter, being like, yeah, I just got word that, the approval could come by the Friday launch. But now the question is, when? Because we're still, we're getting there, as we were mentioning before. We're less than 65 hours away from the start of that opening of the window at 7 a.m. Central on Friday. And so it is like, okay, but technically the approval could come even all the way to the T-3 second mark when they start the engines for liftoff. So it's like, when are we gonna get that approval, right? That is the question right now. Now, it could totally be that they might go even to a countdown situation, and they still don't have an approval, and they will just try and see if they can get that while they're fueling the rocket and things like that. That is completely possible. Now, will it happen? I hope not, because then we'll be on the edge of our seats for a long time during all of the preparations for launch and everything. But we'll have to see and see what happens. He says that the launch approval should come in time for a Friday launch, but again, who knows when that could be in the whole time frame.
That is true. We don't know exactly when that will be, but what we do know is that there are now some government notices out, at least, to warn boaters and airplanes of potential testing activity. So, Ryan, we have the Not Mars, which are the notice to mariners, and then the No TAMs, which formerly notice to airmen, now called notice to air missions. What's the latest with that? I know you've been working on some details with those.
Yeah, I've been working on some pretty things for the actual flight live stream, so make sure you tune in to see everything. But we have not Mars, as Sawyer said to the mariners. We have no TAMs, which are notices to the plane people. But we also have a TFR, which is known as a temporary flight restriction. Now, my understanding is a TFR is an actual boundary, like no matter what. If you fly through there, you are done for. That is you do not fly through there like under any circumstances unless you're specifically authorized to be there. The NOTAM is just a notice to aircraft, to pilots saying, hey, this is going to be happening here. We recommend you don't fly through here. It probably won't end well. And then the not Mars are a similar restriction for the boaters. So that's my understanding of it, at least. So you can see this TFR here from the FAA. You might be thinking, that's quite small. It's barely off the coast of Texas. But that's not the whole story. The NOTAM goes much further out, all the way through the Gulf of Mexico, nearly touching Florida. So this smaller TFR, this, let's say this like maximum piece of restriction here, isn't the full story. This is just the most important piece for people to keep out of, because this is obviously where the vehicle will be launching from. This is the area where a rapid unscheduled disassembly, for example, would be kind of most likely in this sort of area, because if we presume that the flight goes well and the ship gets out of the atmosphere, there's not really anything that can get in its way until it re-enters the atmosphere, which is why you don't need restrictions all the way around the world, because once you're out of the atmosphere, the majority of the danger is no longer in place, and those are the coordinates there of those restrictions.
And it's important to note that it's not just a Starship specific thing. This is for pretty much every single rocket launch that happens nowadays. There is a TFR, that temporary flight restriction, along the Cape, along Vandenberg, even for the suborbital companies in Texas and New Mexico. They all have those same temporary flight restrictions, which if you do go into, there's a good chance you'll get to see a fighter jet, and it might even be flying right off your wing and telling you to land immediately. Oh boy. So Alex, there's a lot going on the actual document on screen. Launch reentry, Starlink, super heavies. Do you mind just breaking down kind of what's actually on the screen here?
Yeah, so this is basically the advisory, it's sort of like an advisory that is sent through the ATC centers across the US, where they have this sort of planning document. This is basically that document that is sent, that they basically lay out what is the planning for the next 3 hours, and during the night it is basically through the night. And so we actually had a video talking about all of the indications and everything that we look for, and we talked about these where we were mentioning that they are released every 3 or 4 hours, more or less, and they are updated every now and then. I'm sure, I don't know if this is a screenshot or like something that we can scroll through, but sort of at the end it says when it's going to be the next one. I'm sure I can actually look it up right now, but basically the next one should come by in just a few hours. Yeah, I'm looking here right now. It should be coming up in 1 minute, actually. Yeah. So that one is going to be updated within a few minutes already. And then the last one, I think there's another one for the night, and it's not going to be until basically until tomorrow. But here, what you can see is sort of the launch and re-entries are going to happen that ATC needs to support. And so there's a lot of people that think this is an indication of like, oh, they have the launch license because they are planning for it. Look, they will plan for it even if it didn't happen on the 17th. And The matter of fact is, you can see there the Starlink 628 and the Starlink 77 launches. Those two launches have basically been scheduled for a while, but they could also be delayed at a later time. So, even though they have approval, they could still be delayed, but they need to be planning, for the moment that they really go through, which right now I can see there it is on the 17th between 4 Zulu to 8:31 for 628 and 7:38 to 12:04 for 77. So yeah, it's not like, oh, they have an approval or something. They're just planning ahead for it.
Well, it's nice of them to say that I'm going to be moving around that evening for VIP movement. Oh, wait, never mind. That's probably something like Air Force One.
Yeah,
Now,
it tends to be like that.
Now, we've been seeing a lot of questions. I've seen already 4 or 5 of them from different people. One from Nick, one from Michael, all asking, what about the WB-57? So for those who don't know, Ryan, what is the WB-57, and would there be any indication that they might be flying for this?
The WB-57 is an aircraft platform which NASA uses specifically. Their purpose for it is to image rockets and things flying through the sky. It has several different imaging capabilities. We've seen footage from Flight 1. That's not all of its imaging capabilities. Those were just visible, slightly out of focus videos, unfortunately. But it's a way for rockets to be imaged from outside of the rocket during flight, because once they launch, they get so far, it just becomes impossible to track them from ground assets, especially considering they launch over the water. So your only option is to use an aircraft. Now, NASA has a publicly available calendar schedule looking thing on their website for the WB-57 and all the other aircraft that they operate. However, this schedule is unreliable. There's no other way of putting it. It is just unreliable. It will give you times, but it's not necessarily going to be sticking to those times. It may give you dates in the past, it may give you dates in the future. It may have 2 weeks blocked out for like supporting imaging or something like that. You don't know what it's for, so it doesn't specifically say it's for Starship, and it doesn't give you a specific time. So it's really difficult to say what aircraft will be doing what and when. So that's not one of the key things we use to look at when predicting when the launch will happen. However, I think it is likely that the WB-57 could be supporting IFT2, just like it did with Flight 1, because this is a joint relationship that SpaceX has with NASA, and I would assume wants to continue with NASA to be able to image Starship as it flies after it leaves the ground, basically. Because even though SpaceX has invested lots of money in fancy ground tracking cameras, which we'll probably never get to see images from, once it gets off the pad, once it gets a few kilometers into the sky, it becomes virtually impossible to track.
We've seen it for other launches too. Besides this, they have brought it out for, I believe Demo 2 had it. They brought it out for Falcon Heavy flights, a particular one.
They use it for re-entries as well, like with Crew Dragon and Cargo Dragon.
Right. So it's something that's been used quite a lot, and it's shared basically across the country. So there is always that potential for it, and hopefully they'll be flying, and hopefully we'll see video, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of plane spotters keeping an eye on all of the flight tracking software to make sure to see if it's in the area.
There we have the schedule, and one of the things of that schedule, if you can see there, is that it doesn't really reflect, like it doesn't say for what it is flying, because back in the day they used to say it, but because we're using these things for Starship and things like that, then they started basically removing the reason why they're flying from that schedule. So they only reflect when they fly and which aircraft is flying, but they don't say for what. And so sometimes people confuse the fact that some period of times when they fly, it coincides a little bit with the times that we hear here and there from when Starship might fly. You're like, oh, this is for Starship, and then it's like, well, but there's this other launch, right, that they probably need to go image. For example, there was CRS-29 a while ago, and there was also Psyche last month. There's USSF 52 for next month. There's there's plenty of missions, especially from SpaceX, that are for the government, and that could mean that this airplane or one of these airplanes has to go out and image it for for whatever reason. And so it's not always a Starship. That's the bottom line. And it might not even be a launch or a reentry. Even might be some kind of other other type of activity that they need to do to use the airplane. So just because you see a schedule there on that schedule, if you see that, it's not 100% for Starship, because there's many other things that they need to do and that these airplanes are being used for.
Exactly. And I do want to point out, we also had a question on that in the form of a super chat as well from Musical Wolves asking about the NASA planes near. So while I have that, I do want to hit some of the support that we got even before we went on the air with today's show. Clint, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. And we have Bran with 6 months as Capcom member. Reminder, Capcom and above, you get access to the NSF Discord. And lots of gifting already. We had Blackhawk and Zed. Thank you for gifting 5 Red Team members. And yes, I said Zed, even though I'm American. Blushy Boy, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Sean Plays Too Much, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Jim Cavett, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. RC Horseman, thank you for gifting 5 Red Team memberships. And then we've had a bunch of people also renewing their memberships throughout the stream, including Space Pope with their Sweet 16 Capcom. Kenneth with the 6-month Red Team member milestone with the question, has Danger Van been replaced, repaired, or neither? To be determined. I don't think we can say anything yet, so I'll just go with stay tuned. It's cool. Christopher, 2-month PadRat member, saying, very good, NSF, go SpaceX. Thank you. Well, it says NFS, but I would say what NFS stands for, but it's not for stream. Get it? Because that's NF. Anyway, Alex, thank you for becoming a PadRat member. Dean, thank you for a year Red Team membership, saying, member for a whole year. Alex, I love your background. Yes, we do. That is really cool, the background, I gotta say. So loving that, Alex. Jim Cavett, we love to hear around here. 35-month launch director member milestone. Holy smokes. All I can say is, what a nail biter. Thanks, NSF team. And thank you, Jim, for all of the support, especially at that level, for almost 3 years. Really, really appreciate it. And then Ninja Decimator, 15-month Capcom membership. Saying here, with the FTS charges now installed, if those were to accidentally go off, would there still be a relatively large explosion without prop, or smaller and just punch a hole in the hull? So I think that's also a really good question, because first off, we don't want to see an earth-shattering kaboom, but in addition to that, there's multiple phases to the flight termination system installation. So Alex, can you kind of break that down?
Yeah, so, well, the whole thing with the flight termination system, I think I explained it yesterday as sort of like a 4-step kind of thing. But basically, we are right now on the first step, definitely, because we saw them. Basically, the first step is installing the charges. We are right there right now. There's a physical safety system that prevents the charges from being accidentally being triggered. That is maybe disconnected or maybe not. We don't. Not fully sure. Definitely should be disconnected by the time they stack for the final time. The third one is basically an electrical inhibitor that is sort of disconnected during the countdown. They arm the flight termination system electronically during the countdown, and then the fourth is when it is actually triggered during flight. So obviously, what we hope is that these charges are not triggered. Now, if they were to be triggered during ground operations, it will probably be dangerous, but not because of the explosion, but probably because they will destroy the structure of the vehicle. And yeah, so you know how the Pisa Tower, yeah, that will be sort of how super heavy will end up being, sort of like something. And yeah, I don't know, but we don't really want that to happen. No.
Yeah. we definitely don't want that to happen. As much as the earth-shattering kaboom is kind of cool, we don't want that for this rocket at all. Let's take some more questions here that you've been tagging us with at NASASpaceflight. And Matt Phillips is asking if the ship makes it into orbit, or I guess almost orbit in this case, because it is suborbital trajectory, how long will it take before splashdown in Hawaii? So, Ryan, do you mind just kind of giving us a breakdown of that timeline, sort of what we can expect, hopefully after liftoff?
Yeah, well, this is all in big brackets if it happens at all, because we have no idea how far it's going to get. But fingers crossed, assuming the best case scenario, everything goes as planned, you get the hot staging out of the way, and you send the ship on down towards Hawaii. It is, as Sawyer said, a suborbital trajectory. It was a little bit misleading in the past because the first flight was also known as the orbital flight test. It's not an orbital trajectory they're trying to send Starship on. Because Starship is still an unproven vehicle, they don't want to put it in an orbit, considering it's such a huge vehicle, they don't want to put it in a low orbit if they don't know that they will be able to relight the Raptors to deorbit it in a controlled way. If they leave it in a low orbit and they cannot relight the Raptors, it will be an uncontrolled re-entry and SpaceX will not have any control to make sure that it doesn't hit anything important like populated sensors. By doing a suborbital trajectory, they guarantee that even if the Raptors cannot be restarted, it will be the ship will re-enter in a place where they know it will be safe to re-enter, because if they're doing a suborbital trajectory, the Raptors only need to shut down after they've been ignited. They don't need to ignite again. It's just one burn on the ship. So with all of that in consideration, it should take approximately 90 minutes to get all the way around from Texas to Hawaii. Starship is essentially flying from Starbase the wrong way around the Earth in order to get to Hawaii. Because if you're in a plane, you want to go west, but Starship has to go all the way around, the wrong way around the Earth towards the east, because it needs to fly over the Gulf of Mexico in order to make sure it doesn't fly over any populated areas too soon after liftoff. Of course, once it gets out of the thickest portion of the atmosphere, it will be a much more safer portion of flight, which is why it's then able to fly over land, such as the southern half of Africa, and then also through Southeast Asia, and I think it might just clip Australia, although I'm not sure on that.
Yeah, I think you put it better earlier today when you said east a bit, over Africa, splash near Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
because
simplified version.
we have had a lot of people from Europe, and myself included. I'm from Europe, but the problem is we're not going to see anything related with the Starship for a long, long time, because Starship does not come anywhere near even the northern parts of the United States, for example, will not see it either. Like, even if it were to go into an actual orbital flight from Boca Chica, because of the inclinations that it can reach from Boca Chica, unless you do a massive dogleg, you're not able to get into an orbit that basically crosses, the southern parts of the United States, the Europe and everything like that. It's not going to get to that point. We'll have to wait until Starship actually goes to Florida to be able to get to, that point where Starship goes into higher inclination orbits, and then it overflies Europe, it overflies the northern parts of the United States, Canada, and everything. So we'll see.
I absolutely cannot wait for it to fly out of Florida personally, and totally not just because I live in Florida and I'm right nearby it or anything. Anyway, want to acknowledge a little bit more support here. Stabby Unicorn with a $100 tip at tips.nasaspaceflight.com. Wow. Thank you for that extremely, extremely generous support there. Let's see what message Stabby has today. The other day it was about bacon. Today it's, I want to 3D print a rocket out of chocolate. I honestly look forward to those messages now. They're so intricate, I guess, is a nice way to put it. They're unique. So I like that. 3D print a rocket out of chocolate. They do make food 3D printers. And there are 3D prints of Starship out there. So anybody want to send me a 3D printed chocolate Starship?
You're in Florida, it's just going to melt as soon as you get out of the box.
It could also be a lot of chocolate, because if you make it real size, that is what, like 120-meter tall tower of chocolate? I'll take
Then
it.
we can just make the
I don't
chocolate
care,
river
but
from Willy Wonka.
exactly. Then you can see the trajectory graphic. That is the old one, though. We have a newer one, much better, coming up soon.
Yes, I saw it being made
Leaks.
the other night. It's going to be good. But yes, and a reminder, that is another way to support us. If you don't want to go through the Google stuff, you can also support us at tips.nasaspaceflight.com directly. Let's see, we also had Roland Hines saying, "Hi, NSF, birthday's on the 19th. Well, happy almost birthday, and hopefully you get a beautiful candle of Starship ahead of that." Holly, 28-month Pad Rat member milestone. Join us at Boca Chica Beach tonight. Cool. Hope you have fun out there. Maniac, 6-month Red Team membership. Can't wait for this flight. I'm sure you can tell all of us can't wait for it either, as we're on here talking about it with you guys. Ryan Scott, thanks for becoming Pad Rat member. Sideshow Bob, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. All right. Lot going on ahead of this here, and we've got a question from Ross that we kind of addressed yesterday, but I think it's worth noting now with Elon tweeting that he expects the approval in time for launch. What does he mean by in time for launch? Basically, what's the minimum realistic gap between approval and launch is what Ross is asking. Alex, how about you take this?
More than 0 seconds? Alex knows more than me. My guess is more than 0 seconds. I mean, like, they could physically license it at T-1 and it launches at T0, right?
Well, not T-1. So the license that this is a common misconception where it's like, and I sort of do it sometimes because, you know, especially in social media, we tend to be a little bit more vague in the way that we communicate, and it's okay, but for the purposes of this explanation I'm trying to do, they already have a license for Starship, right? But the current license only allows them to do pre-flight operations, and pre-flight operations includes, just as the definition says, includes everything from the installation of the flight termination system all the way to when, you know, flight operations begin. And flight operations begin, according to the license, when they ignite the engines with the purpose of lifting off. So if they get to the point of igniting the engines, that is T-3 seconds in the countdown, that is the latest that they can get, that they could get the approval. Now, the approval that they're waiting for is for the modification of the license. The current license, the flight operations are only valid for the first flight only. You can see basically if you go to the license, the fourth sort of clause, it says it is for the first flight only, unless modified to remove this or modified or something, right? So that's what we're waiting. We're waiting for, it's going to be the same license, it's going to have the same number, and it's just going to be revision 1 of that license. It's going to be a modification of that license, and it either will have something like for the second flight only, unless modified or whatever, right? Basically the same language, but instead for the first flight for the second, or it will just eliminate that, and therefore it will be valid for any flight that basically follows the same trajectory and the same timelines as this flight. Which, to be honest, this flight is basically the same as the first one for all intents and purposes, right? Because it's gonna be fly east, go all the way around the globe, and splash in the Pacific Ocean, and, you know, cross your fingers that all happens within plan. So that is pretty much what could happen. It might be that they get the license all the way to at the T-40 point in the count, because obviously if they're waiting for the license, I will expect them to hold the count at the T-40 mark and then be like, okay, well, maybe one day, yeah, it's coming, guys, yeah, right? Might be like that, right? So yeah. we gotta probably, you know, I hope it doesn't happen though. I hope it is not like that, but on paper, in pure theory, that could be the case.
Hopefully we'll know well before that. But along those lines, we have a question here from Huffy asking, how long is the launch window considering all the published limitations? And I guess along those lines, while we were just talking about that, if they're sitting out there waiting for the license, can Starship sit out there just fueled waiting that time?
That's another question. So The restrictions are usually larger than the launch window itself, at least not at the beginning, but sometimes more like towards the end. For example, the ATC plan operations thing that we showed, the end of the window it's actually like 2 more hours from the NOTAM and the NOTMARS that we have seen. So it is much longer than the others, but it starts at the same time. So usually what you see, and especially with because of my experience with all of these Starlink flights that we have had, you cannot say that we haven't had any experience with the Starlinks. We have had many of them. So I already have a lot of experience looking up those windows for Starlink, and usually is that the start of the window is pretty much within a few minutes, and then the end of the window it's actually before when all of these notices and things like that happen. So the start of the window will be 7 a.m. Central Standard Time. That will be 1300 UTC. And for me, for example, which I'm in Central European Time, that will be 2 p.m. for me. Ryan, I think it'll be 1 p.m. You're in UTC. So, you know, Google is your friend for all these time zone conversions, but definitely that's the start of the window. Now, how long could it be? Probably it's about 2 hours, because the notices, for example, in the NOTAM is 2 hours and 39 minutes. But one could think that maybe those 39 minutes are like, you know, that little thing that they extend into, you know, and it is actually like 2 hours instead. Could be like that.
Yeah, we tried last launch attempt to get the time zones, but we kind of messed those up a little bit. But I have to say, one thing that Pauline didn't mess up for the store were the patches for the second integrated flight test, which are available at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. These are fantastic designs, as always. In addition to the one that was done for the first flight test, Pauline is back again with the second flight test here. The colors on this one are absolutely gorgeous. The detail in the knitting in that. We've got the moon and Mars little stars on there indicated as well, right in the bottom right corner there. So this is available now at shop.nasaspaceflight.com, and you can even get 2 of them, like Alex has over there. But that's not all.
A fantastic job at modeling the patches for us.
There's the older ones too, because we also have the ones for the first flight. See, I have them all.
But that's not all. I talked about how nice they look knitted. There's something that's actually knitted that you can get for yourself for the holidays, and that is the NSF sweaters and our knitted caps that are all available now too. These are actually knit sweaters and knit caps. The detail on them is absolutely awesome. You've got the ones that are for crew flight. You've got ones for the Cape. You can see there the one with the Crew Dragon capsule parachuting down. It's got the trunk on there. You've got all of the solar panels as well. We also have holiday-themed ones like the Raptor Christmas tree, which I'll be honest, that was way cooler than any tree I would ever have in my house. We also have specific Starship ones now too, and Starbase. So you can check all that out at shop.nasaspaceflight.com. There is that new Starbase one that was just added too. And I love the beanies, in particular the one with the tiles. I'm also a tile person, so I love that too. It's really great. So again, shop.nasaspaceflight.com. And a reminder, we are coming up very close here on the deadline to order them to guarantee that you get them by Christmas. That is coming up in less than a week. So make sure, if you want to get them in time for Christmas, order now. How was that? One of my smoother transitions, you think, or? Anyway, let's continue along here with more of your questions. We have one from Pedro here saying, can you provide forecasts on Friday at Boca Chica? Ryan, what's the weather looking like?
I'm no weather expert. I'm not going to claim to be a weather expert here. Adam Suka, one of our people based out of McGregor, he's very much a weather expert, so he'll be giving us more weather details as we get closer to launch. But from my understanding, the weather on Friday is meant to be sunny. It's meant to not have high wind shear. It's meant to just be, maybe not perfect conditions for launching, but pretty much as close to perfect as you're going to get in the middle of November. right? Let's also remember what time of year it is. It's the middle of November. It's not going to be, incredibly warm weather, as the team down in Starbase has been finding out for themselves over the last few days. It's been raining, it's been pouring, the weather has been atrocious. So good thing they haven't wanted to launch this week, because the weather hasn't been right for it. But getting into the latter end of this week, wind shear is low. It should be good weather, nice sunny skies. Maybe we'll find out. But perhaps not too overcast. However, if we have to wait till next week, that's when the weather could start working against Starship, because wind shear can increase, and especially upper level winds. You need to be watching your upper level winds, as we keep saying, as we always say on the Starlink streams. You need to make sure that your winds are perfect for the launch. There are going to be constraints for Starship. They don't want to launch into high wind shear areas, because suddenly the wind is blowing really fast this way, and then suddenly as you go 2,000 feet higher, the wind's blowing really fast this way. That will be really bad. You don't want that, because the vehicle isn't going to like that at all. So Friday, looking good. As we push on further into next week, looking less good.
Alex, I'm going to make you read what you wrote in the back channel out loud to the class.
We don't know whether the weather will be good. That's what I said in the back channel, because I wanted to make the joke, okay? But yeah, if I'm gonna make the joke, I'm gonna say that we don't want British weather. We want actual good weather.
The pun token and the dig at the Brits, all in one.
I mean, yeah. He should be the one talking about cloudy skies and rain, things like that. Of course, because he's the British one. You want the weather
that
here
didn't
in Spain.
activate fight mode.
Oh, we could, right? I think we have the bell and everything, but anyway. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
I have to tell
How dare
you, right?
you diss
Yeah,
my
there we go.
skies? My skies have done nothing.
You're right, they haven't done anything, because it's all cloudy, you can't see them.
Thanks, Sawyer.
I apologize.
Don't you have a question
to all
or
of our
something
British
to read
viewers. Oh my goodness. But yes, we're hearing in the back channel that the forecast is currently calling sunny skies, high 79 degrees Fahrenheit. I apologize, I don't have the Celsius conversion. Winds 15 to 20 miles per hour, but still all within limits. So
What's the
hopefully it stays that way.
Fahrenheit? Maybe I can guess it, because I'm getting good at that lately.
79 degrees Fahrenheit.
Ooh.
26.11 Celsius. Boom.
Okay.
Get it in my head.
Well, see, the Google kid knew about that, of course. Now I'm getting pied here with the merch. Hi. Yeah.
With the patches.
The patch. Look, it's the same. It's the same.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, let's get back away from that and into questions. Alex, before things get too out of hand, I'll let you redeem yourself here. Khaled asking, in the case of a scrub, how much time do they need to try again?
Yeah, so that depends on when they scrub. So if they scrub without loading anything, they could probably, well, without loading anything. What I mean by that is without pulling up the tank farm, for example, they could probably try again on Saturday. So that is pretty much straight away, because they wouldn't really consume anything from the tank farm. No nitrogen, no oxygen, nothing basically. Now, if they do activate the tank farm and they go into propellant load and things like that, if they go all the way down, basically to that T-minus 40-second mark in the countdown, that hold point, we could see a situation like we had on April, where they attempted on the 17th and the next attempt was in the 20th. They said that they could have attempted maybe on the 19th, but they need a bit of time to troubleshoot one of the issues. So, apart from all of these things that we're talking about here with the, what could be the turnaround time for the whole system, not just the launch pad, but also the vehicles, you also need to take into account that they will need to troubleshoot whatever has caused the scrub. So obviously, if it's weather, just wait around, right, until the weather is correct. But if it's something like a pressure valve or something like it, then they need to go into the vehicle, they need to look it up. I remember from the first flight, between attempts, they were working on the hydraulic power units and things like that. They were working on a few systems. So definitely, to that extra few days that they might need to replenish the tank farm and things like that, add maybe an extra day for troubleshooting things and things like that. And also because if they load all the way down through the countdown, they load the vehicle, they need to detank, and so that takes another couple of hours, and saving the vehicle, saving the launch pad until they can come back to the launch pad. So if they were to scrub on the 17th all the way down through the countdown, they will not come back until way in the afternoon to the pad, so they will not be able to start on troubleshooting and replenishing the tank farm until later into the day. So effectively, you actually have maybe like 2.5 days, because then by Monday, if they were able to, if they were to try on the 20th, you're talking about starting the road closure at midnight, right? So it's effectively the 2 days of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday, and then half of the Friday maybe. So 2.5 days.
Yeah, we saw last time hundreds, and that is not an exaggeration, more than 100 trucks coming in to Starbase to try and get the tank farm fully refueled ahead of that second attempt from the 17th to the 20th. So that is probably the biggest factor of everything, is getting those propellants there.
Yeah, and something that we're seeing here, Ryan Weber in the back channels talking about the upper level winds for Friday. The forecast for those have gone up a little bit. I'm looking here at the graph, and it kind of looks like they have increased a bit, but hopefully they are within limits. I do know, for example, for Falcon 9, the problem is not much about the basically how to explain it. It's not the magnitude of the wind itself, but rather the direction, how it shifts, the wind shear, basically, as we call it. And so we don't really know how it is for Starship. It might be that even the wind shear, it is capable of surviving that, but it's maybe the wind speed, right? The magnitude, how fast that wind is going. So we really don't know. I do know for Falcon 9, the magnitude is like, it could probably survive 120 knots at about 50,000 feet or so in altitude. So that's sort of like the upper level winds. I've seen Falcon 9 launches going with that kind of forecast of, 120 knots of wind, but it's at 50,000 feet in the air.
Yeah. Also, if it's 120 knots on the ground, that's a hurricane. I do want to hit some support here really quick before I ask a few more questions. Brendan, thank you. 39-month PadRat member milestone, saying great stuff as always. Thank you. Anon Emis, thank you for the 26-month Capcom member milestone, saying keep up the great work. Thank you. And again, always happy to see those Capcom members in Discord. Hypnotic, 4 months, saying y'all should play 10 Seconds of Starship by Nicki Minaj. I have a feeling that would get us copyright claimed and also remove our family-friendly nature of these streams. Just a thought. Modern, 41-month Capcom member milestones. My goodness, these are impressive. Thank you for the coverage, following along since SN2. Let's hope for Friday. Yeah, that's what we're all hoping for. Thank you again, including Richard Palmer, now 35-month Capcom membership, saying, has Danger Man been a Cybertruck as part of Tesla's testing program? Well, we can prove that our windows were also not bulletproof, or concrete proof, I guess. Hobby Time, 24 months, 2 years, Red Team membership, saying, wow, 2 years already? Roll on, Launch Flight 2. Roll on indeed. I love rolling on. Alex Moon, 28th month, Red Team membership, saying, heard while at Starbase that safety pins on FTS got pulled by cables at launch. I recall some unknown cables on the QD last launch. Thoughts? I don't think that's necessarily the thing. There are other items that pull away, though. Right? Ryan,
yeah,
do you know that one? Or Alex, go ahead.
Well,
Give it to Alex.
I would like to address the whole thing of the unknown cables on the QD last launch. Those cables were removed before the launch, and we can see them on ship 25, and when they basically are stacking without the intent of going for a launch. Right now they are in basically in this stack configuration, but if they were to stack again and that was for launch, those cables would not be connected. So they do not yank them out from the vehicle or anything. Those we believe they are maybe fluid and some power connections or something to basically diagnostics or something like it. It's really complicated because we don't really know, we don't really have a lot of insight into that stuff. But basically, those were disconnected for Ship 24 for the first flight. Those were totally disconnected before the launch, so they were not there. Now, the safety pins got pulled by cables at launch. The problem with that is that you don't really need to pull the pins for launch. You actually will need those to be pulled out before the launch, because then you need to actually tell the vehicle, the safety system, hey, you need to activate when I tell you to activate through that software input that I talked about that goes through the quick disconnect. So I'm not sure it will work. And apart from that, you also will need operators to be able to reach the pins and connect those, pull, because you will need something from the tower that goes to the pin and disconnects, and so you will need either a remote way of connecting it to the pins, or you need people to go up and connect it to the pins. But then they could also remove the pins themselves, right? But right now there's no that possibility. There's no lift that can reach all the way there when the vehicle is stacked. So that's why they needed to do it on the ground and then stack.
So you're saying that for the meantime they're putting a pin in that?
I knew you were gonna do that joke.
Of course, I had to. Amtank, $5 tip saying, when he wakes up, he's sleeping in my bed at the moment, which this is my guest room, this is my actual bed. Tara saying, with the $20 super chat saying, being much bigger than other objects sent into space and being made out of stainless steel, will Starship become the most visible object in the night sky over areas that have a direct view of it? Ryan, do you think that's a possibility?
Well, we've seen itty-bitty Starlink trains, kind of be quite visible in areas where you don't have a lot of light pollution. But the ISS is also, as NASA likes to say, the size of a football field. So, the ISS also isn't, like the brightest object in the sky. Where the moon, for example, is going to be much more visible than that. So, I think it could certainly be visible, but you'd need to be in the right viewing conditions. You need to have not a lot of light pollution. I don't think it's going to be having like another sun in the sky. Obviously, I don't know whether it will be able to overpower Jupiter, maybe even. I'm not sure on the physics of that, but it would make sense for it to be visible, considering we can see the ISS and we used to be able to see very clearly Starlink trains going over when they just launched. Also, it depends what orbit it's in. If it's going to the moon, you probably won't see it. So there's a variety of different factors that go into whether you'll actually be able to see it or not.
And a reminder so that you can check off your bingo cards as well. I have seen the shuttle trailing behind the ISS as two very distinct, visible individual lights. So if the shuttle could be seen...
I did that too.
Wow, I didn't know you were old enough. Sorry.
Really?
But if the shuttle could be seen and that just had, kind of the radiator that made it a little shiny versus a steel vehicle, I think it's very likely we'll get to see it. Oh, this is just mean. Joaquim here, getting items from the store. The comment saying, Alex, your background is recursium? I apologize. I probably butchered that.
I have no idea.
Adrian will yell at me later.
Not supposed to be up. Well, look, this is the official render from SpaceX, so it's not my fault. Like, really. I could probably tap it and all. Yeah. So I was going to say as well, because we were sort of talking about seeing this thing in orbit. I know people have looked at Crew Dragon even in orbit, and that Crew Dragon is what, like maybe this little bit here of the shape. It's just little bit smaller, right? It's much smaller than Starship, and it can be seen. Now you need to know where to look at it. But yeah, you will probably be able to see it. But if you look at this, there's there's heat shield tiles. There's the leeward side. The leeward side is the one that is shiny. Maybe if it's with a heat shield side down, you don't see it. Might all come down to how the light points to the vehicle and how it reflects back to Earth or something. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We need to go back to the 3-box vertical just so we can pie Alex in the face again. I know NASA spaceflight officials already discussing that. There we go.
Oh my god. I ordered that, by the way. I ordered the Christmas stuff because I really like it.
Also, thank you to Kevin, who's producing this in the back, for making that happen. Here's a question from Florida Man. I have some questions for you too then. I'll put this one to you, Ryan. Could they launch on the weekend if they don't try on Friday?
That's a really interesting question because physically, I don't really see why not. Realistically, probably not. They don't have as much freedom with road closures at weekends as they do during weekdays. They only have a certain number of weekend closures they're allowed to do, period, throughout the year, no matter what. So we saw earlier in the year that they closed the road for booster testing and things like that at the launch site on a weekend. However, that's ticking off a very finite list of opportunities that they have available in order to close the road at the weekend. So even, closing the road may seem like a pretty mundane thing, but you have to remember Boca Chica Beach is, like a proper thing, right? So that's a reason why launching at the weekend wouldn't really be realistic. Alex, I know you're pointing to something, but it's flipped for me, so I can't read it.
So yeah, you can see there sort of the measure to limit access restrictions, and so it says for Thanksgiving so where any of the holidays falls annually on a Monday or Friday, no weekend access restrictions as defined in 9D below, whatever, shall be permitted. Where any of the holidays does not fall annually on a Monday or Friday, but falls on a Monday or Friday in particular. So you can see all of that. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically
the big one,
you can
though,
see
is number
there.
3, though.
Exactly, yeah. So for Thanksgiving, no access restrictions shall be permitted. Basically, they have some... Basically, they cannot close the roads on weekends, but they have times where they are allowed. And what this part of the document is saying is that this is when they are not able to have any exceptions or anything like it. So for Thanksgiving, for example, which is next week, I believe. I'm not American.
Next Thursday,
so
the 23rd.
Yeah, next week, the Thursday. But, the holidays sort of like... all the way through that weekend. So that weekend, they cannot close the road, including Thanksgiving itself. So let's imagine just for a second, okay? Let's put ourselves into the situation that they go for a launch on Friday and they scrub. And now they attempt again on Monday, right? And now they attempt on Monday on, oh my gosh, they scrubbed again. So now what happens after that? Because after that you have basically Tuesday and Wednesday, and now, oops, Thursday is already Thanksgiving, right? So when will it happen again? If they were to, scrub on Friday and Monday or whatever, we're probably looking at, if they don't launch by the 23rd, the next attempt will probably be the next week on Monday, on the 28th, I think it is, or 27th, sadly. But I think the same document says something about the Monday after Thanksgiving also being included. So at the end of the day, you have Thanksgiving, the whole weekend, and also the Monday. So they wouldn't be able to try again until the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, which is currently November 28th. So that's why we really need this launch to happen before Thanksgiving, or else we'll basically on the door to December.
Yep, we can't forget the most important holidays in the United States: Black Friday and Cyber Monday. Priorities. Luca, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. Different Ryan. We have too many Ryans. No, I'm kidding. There's never too many. 15-month Capcom member milestone saying, I'm going to get a chocolate 3D printer to make 3D printed starships now. Send them here, please. Sounds good. Ben getting items from the store saying, thank you, NSF, and keep up the great work. Can't wait to see the launch again. I think all of us are really excited to see the launch again. And let's see what you grabbed. Anyway, let's continue along. Jim Graves, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Blushy Boy, thank you for gifting a Red Team membership. Musical Wolves, I appreciate the weather forecast here. Sunny with a chance of ignition and potentially a chance of concrete, but hopefully not. Lou, 31-month Pad Rat member milestone. Fingers crossed for Friday as it's your birthday. Well, happy almost birthday to you. Uncle Yukon saying Friday the 17th is my dog's, Alaska's 4th birthday. Thank you for that and the 14 months of support. Red Team member milestone there. A lot of birthdays. Multi-Mutant Gamer, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. Josh, thank you for the support. No message, but still greatly appreciated. Courtney, thank you for becoming a Red Team member. We've got Steve, 10-month Capcom member milestone, saying, ordered my Raptor sweater, go flight. Let us hope for that. Josh Howard, thank you for upgrading to Capcom member. Hopefully we will see you in the Discord. Luke, thank you for becoming a Pad Rat member. And Brock Bowers, 36 months, 3 years, Capcom member milestone here, saying, what attempt do you think it will launch on? Wow, 3 years already. You know what? I think that's a perfect question kind of here. What do you think? Alex, quick, what do you think?
Boy, I think it's going to do the same as the first flight, and it's going to be on the second attempt. I will see. When that second attempt will happen, I have no idea.
Ryan, what do you think?
I'm gonna agree with Alex there. Second attempt seems like a pretty safe bet. The first attempt, I could see it happening, but I could also see a million reasons why it doesn't. So, I'll also bet on the second attempt. And I'll say potentially second attempt could be next week, but before Thursday.
I'm gonna go with the same thing. I think second attempt. I think hopefully they'll try on Friday, and then we'll see about the actual launch date itself. And then Ultima, 17-month Capcom member milestone saying, keep it up, y'all. Well, thank you. And you actually got me to say y'all, something I rarely ever say actually in real life. Now, as for the excitement itself, I know we're talking about, potentially when that launch might be. Well, it seems sooner than later. We have a tweet that came in from Christian Davenport that says, also just heard that a license is indeed imminent and that a Starship launch attempt could happen this week. And that is in relation to Elon's tweet from last night saying that approval for the launch should happen in time for a Friday attempt. It's getting more real, I guess. What do you make of that, Alex?
Well, imminent, what is it imminent, right? Because for the first flight, I remember we had tweets by Eric Berger and from Christian, like the Thursday before, I think that was April 13th or something like that, where they were saying it is imminent, and then it released on Friday, the 14th. I do remember, though, for the 14th, we actually got from, what's the name? From Eric Berger. There we go. From Eric Berger, we got an actual tweet saying it is at 5:50 p.m. that the FAA will say something, and so it happened, right? But now saying only imminent and not having like an actual time, it's making me think that it could also be tomorrow, something like it, right? But it kind of leads me to think that maybe we're not going to be in the situation that we explained before, that we're going to be on the countdown and having to wait for the launch license. Hopefully that's not the case, and definitely that raised my hopes a bit that we're not gonna be on that case.
That just means you have to keep an eye out on all the NASA Spaceflight social accounts and subscribe here with the notification bell so that we can break down the launch license once it comes out. But I do want to thank the amazing team that's been out in the field, by the way, getting you the views that we've been seeing, getting everything ready for the flight. Now that the floods have started to clear up a bit, going out there, getting all the cameras ready to go. So thank you to the team out there. And of course, thank you to all of our members. And that is one of the perks of becoming a flight director, launch director, flight engineer, helps when you get them in the right order. You get your name at the end of NSF Live and all of our countdown to launch shows. So a huge thank you to all of those. They are the top supporters that have been really helping us to be able to bring this content to you, to get as many cameras as we have set up at Starbase for this attempt. I want to thank everyone who joined me today. Alex, thank you for joining us for Countdown to Launch.
Yeah, we're getting the Oscar outro here. The music. There we go.
Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
And Ryan, UK Ryan, thank you very much for all of your input today. Good to have you back.
You're very welcome. I'll keep it short because I think Kevin wants to wrap up.
Speaking of, the Kevin, Michael Reed, is the one who's behind the scenes today, pushing the buttons, pulling the levers, and making all of the magic happen on this countdown to launch. I have been your host, Sawyer Rosenstein, and by the way, don't forget, if you want to make sure you don't miss our launch coverage starting for the upcoming flight, we have the live stream published, so go over there and make sure you hit notify me when they go live, so that way you know when we actually go live. And if you want more info about the launch, don't worry, we'll be back here tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central for more Countdown to Launch. As always, you can keep up on Starbase Live 24/7 until then. Have a great one, everybody. We'll see you for the next Countdown to Launch tomorrow.
And here we go.
We have liftoff.
Propulsion continues to be nominal.
RCPA chamber pressure looks good.
Following up. Roger, Atlantic.
Water powered fly! Yes! Tango down to nominal.
Flight downside at speed off. Say nsf.live off. It's orange! Orange 25! Oh my god! Oh my god! Decollage! Put that in the big bag, Eagle.
343 unfolds to go.
Indeed.
We rise together back to the moon and beyond.
If the methane will be igniting in the flare, correct?